Today, June 3, 2025, marks another dark day in Gaza. Reports have emerged of a devastating incident. At least 27 Palestinian civilians have lost their lives. Many more, around 37 individuals, have suffered injuries. They were attempting to collect desperately needed humanitarian aid. This aid was essential for their survival. The circumstances surrounding these deaths are deeply troubling. They demand close and careful examination. These civilians were driven by hunger and desperation. They sought basic sustenance in a land ravaged by conflict. The quest for food turned fatal for many. This highlights the severe humanitarian crisis gripping Gaza. People are forced to risk their lives for minimal support. The international community watches, or should be watching. Such events cannot become commonplace. They represent a profound failure to protect human life. The incident occurred under a new aid distribution system. This system is managed by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, an entity backed by Israel and the United States. It has recently taken over aid operations, replacing long-standing UN agencies. The change in how aid is delivered is significant. It forms a critical part of the context for today's tragedy. Understanding this new system is crucial. The deadly events of today transpired near the Al-Alam roundabout, situated approximately 1 kilometer from an aid distribution center in Gaza. Civilians had gathered in this area, waiting for aid supplies to be distributed. The hope for food drew them to this specific point. This proximity to the distribution site is a key detail, suggesting they were there for a clear purpose. According to Palestinian sources, the response from Israeli forces was severe. Mahmoud Basal, a spokesman for Gaza's Civil Defense Agency, provided details. He stated that civilians faced fire from multiple military assets including tanks. Quadcopter drones were also reportedly used, and helicopters were implicated in the attack on the crowd. This paints a picture of a heavily armed response against civilians. The timing of the incident added to the vulnerability of those present. Eyewitnesses report that events began unfolding in the early morning hours. Some say shooting started around 2 a.m., while others mention a foreign medic describing total carnage starting around 3:48 a.m. People often gather overnight for aid due to the first-come, first-served nature of the new system. They were exposed in the darkness. Palestinian officials and eyewitnesses offer harrowing accounts of the incident. Mahmoud Basal from Gaza's Civil Defense stated that Israeli forces fired upon civilians waiting for aid. Atef Al-Hout, director of Nasser Hospital, reported 24 dead and 37 wounded. Dr. Al-Hout stated that Israeli forces opened fire as civilians waited for aid. Eyewitness Nadim Zarab described gunfire from helicopters, tanks, and snipers. These testimonies paint a consistent picture of an unprovoked attack on aid seekers. The Israeli Defense Forces, or IDF, presented a different version of events. They acknowledged that their troops were involved, but their explanation diverged significantly from Palestinian accounts. The IDF stated that its soldiers fired warning shots after identifying suspects allegedly moving towards the troops. These suspects were accused of deviating from the designated access routes. The IDF further specified the location of their actions, claiming the warning shots were fired approximately half a kilometer away from the humanitarian aid distribution site itself. This detail attempts to separate their actions from the direct process of aid collection, implying that those targeted were not at the aid site, but in an area of active military concern. In their statement, the IDF also asserted a broader policy. They claimed their troops were not preventing the arrival of Gazan civilians to the humanitarian aid distribution sites. This statement aims to portray their operations as compatible with humanitarian efforts, suggesting that any interference with aid access is not intentional. It seeks to reassure that aid routes remain open, a common refrain in such situations. This incident, however, is not isolated. Section 5, a new system for aid, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. So, the context of aid distribution in Gaza has recently changed, and operations are now largely managed by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, or GHF for short. This organization, is relatively new to this role. Interestingly, it is backed by both Israel and the United States. The GHF's stated aim apparently is to replace established UN agencies, including UNRWA, which has long served Palestinian refugees. Now, this shift represents a significant policy change, and the GHF system operates under specific conditions. Civilians must travel to designated distribution centers, which are often located in areas under Israeli military control. This inherently places civilians in proximity to military forces. Reports indicate that these sites are staffed by armed American security contractors, and their presence adds another layer of complexity, further militarizing the aid environment. Civilians, while they face considerable hardships under this new system, they are required to walk long distances, often through dangerous and damaged terrain. Once they reach a center, they must carry heavy aid boxes which can weigh up to 20 kilograms or 44 pounds. This is a significant burden for people already weakened by malnutrition, and it is especially hard for the elderly, women and children. Section 6. Contrasting approaches. UNRWA's legacy and GHF's method. The previous aid system in Gaza, run by UN agencies like UNRWA, was different. It focused on direct delivery to communities. Aid was distributed to approximately 400 sites across the Gaza Strip. This extensive network aimed to reach people where they lived. It reduced the need for long, dangerous journeys. This system was built on decades of experience in the region. It was designed to minimize risk to recipients. The UN system also relied on a population registry. This helped to ensure that aid was distributed equitably. It aimed to reach those most in need. The GHF system, in contrast, appears less structured. Its first-come, first-served model can lead to chaos. It potentially favors those who are stronger or able to wait longer. This can disadvantage the most vulnerable segments of the population. The elderly and sick may be left behind. In response to today's tragic incident, the GHF issued a statement. They claimed that aid distribution at their specific site was conducted safely. They acknowledged the IDF investigation into civilian injuries. However, they stated these civilians had moved beyond the designated safe corridor. They said these individuals entered a closed military zone. This area was well beyond our secure distribution site, according to the GHF. This deflects responsibility from their operational area. Section 7. Global Condemnation. International reactions to the killings. The repeated killings around aid distribution sites have not gone unnoticed. UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk expressed grave concern. He stated, "For a third day running, people were killed around an aid distribution site. This highlights a disturbing pattern of violence. It underscores the extreme dangers faced by Gazans. They are risking their lives simply to obtain food. This situation is untenable." Mr. Turk offered a stark assessment of the choices facing Palestinians. He said they face a choice between dying from starvation or risking death. This risk comes while accessing meager food. He attributed this to Israel's militarized humanitarian assistance mechanism. This strong condemnation points to systemic failures. It criticizes the very structure of the current aid process. It suggests the process itself is flawed and dangerous. Following the similar incident on the preceding Sunday, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres also spoke out. He expressed that he was appalled by the reports. These reports detailed Palestinians killed and injured while seeking life-saving aid. Mr. Guterres called for an immediate and independent investigation. He also demanded accountability for the perpetrators. Such calls for investigation are vital. However, they often go unheeded or produce limited results. Section 8. The enduring conflict. A bleak humanitarian backdrop. These tragic aid incidents occur within a wider conflict. The current phase of hostilities began on October 7, 2023. Hamas launched a cross-border attack into Israel. This attack resulted in significant Israeli casualties. About 1,200 people were reported killed. Additionally, 251 individuals were taken hostage. This event triggered Israel's massive military response in Gaza. It set the stage for the current devastation. Israel's ensuing military campaign in the Gaza Strip has been relentless. It has caused widespread destruction and immense human suffering. According to Gaza's health ministry, the death toll is staggering. At least 54,470 people have been killed in Gaza since the conflict began. This figure includes 4,201 deaths since Israel resumed its offensive on March 18, 2025. These numbers represent a catastrophic loss of life. The majority are civilians. The humanitarian situation in Gaza was dire even before this latest escalation. Now, it is beyond critical. The population faces severe shortages of food, water, medicine, and shelter. The infrastructure has been decimated. Hospitals struggle to function. The constant threat of bombardment makes daily life perilous. Accessing any form of aid is fraught with danger. This is the grim reality for over 2 million people. Section 9. Conclusion. The militarization of aid and its consequences. Civilians in Gaza are paying the ultimate price. They are killed while seeking the means to survive. The loss of 27 lives at an aid collection point is a tragedy. The introduction of a militarized aid process raises serious questions. Humanitarian aid should be neutral and impartial. It should be delivered safely. The current GHF system appears to fall short of these principles.